שמי אלמר אדוארדס בן ישראל, חי ונולד בדימונה, משרת בצבא ההגנה לישראל, חיל אוויר, אני בן 21, אני זמר, אוהב את החיים שלי.
I'm serving in the Air Force. I've been in the Air Force now for about 2 years and 3 months. Right now I'm serving as a mechanic. We go out on different assignments out in the field. I normally drive Army truck, just carry equipment, or even if it's a Jeep. That's it, basically. That's my daily Army life.
She having a circle sleeve that comes like really big. My name is Mathila, and it means causing great joy and jubilation. I cut my sleeves different. I ain't got no, I'm not actually cutting in a sleeve. I'm just doing the circle that I always tell you. Right now, I'm supposed to be making a wedding dress for the sister that's getting married next week. She asked me to make her wedding dress, and I had my mother come down earlier to help me cut it. It don't need to swing too much because then it will interfere with in the front with the whole look. I was born in 1990 and raised here all my life. Well, I can't say I was the typical kind of teenager. I liked being at home, and I liked learning all my virtues, because being a mother someday and being a wife is very important, being a good wife and a good mother. So you have to learn all those values.
I was born in Elberton, Georgia, in the year of 1940. We grew up on the farm, farming. I lived with my father and mother, and I was raised in Georgia until I was 8 years old. And then my mother moved to Chicago.
I was born in Bolton, Mississippi. My mother and father worked very hard. I remember us leaving home early in the morning and returning home in the evening at dark. One day, my mother and my sister, we was going someplace into town. We took off running to get some water. I was drinking at one, and my sister was at the other. My mother snatched me real hard, and she said, "Don't you ever, ever, ever drink from this water fountain again." She showed me and my sister, she showed us that the two fountains each had signs. One said colored, and one said white.
Growing up as a teenager, you have lots of friends. I had, we were all in our neighborhood. Everybody was friends. We just all grew up. But when I went in the Army and come out, some of them was dead, moved away, all kinds, and it was kind of hard for me to get adjusted to dead from what? Some of them had perished on drugs, and some was in jail, and et cetera, and et cetera. I had to make an adjustment to how fast things had changed.
It was on the south side of Chicago. 39th Street. At that time, you didn't play. When the sun went down, you had to be in the house. Every day, there was someone that had got abused or someone that had gotten beaten up or someone that was killed. And we walked through that neighborhood every day. And in that area, Blackstone Rangers is all around that place.
I may be poor, but I am somebody. I may be on welfare, but I am somebody. I may be in jail, but I am somebody. I may be uneducated, but I am somebody. I am black, beautiful, proud. I must be respected.
In 1967, when a friend of ours came to my door, he had a beard. It was unkept. And he had a homemade book bag on his shoulder.
A fella that to me at that time looked strange because he had a big beard and he had a turban on his head.
So he wrote out some scriptures. He said, I want you to read this. When I read them, they were so interesting to me. And I said, I read the Bible 3 times from front to back, but I never recall seeing the things that I had read. I knew that this was what I was looking for because it touched my soul. It's like it did something to me that I'd never felt before. I mean, something happened to me. In hearing those words and reading those scriptures, something happened to me.
And all from the time that I was growing up, going to church, searching for whatever, it began to make sense.
My family is thinking I'm crazy. They wanted to have me committed because they said that those people is feeding you something. They've done something to you. So I had to begin to stay away from my family.
But what those people don't know that they are the descendants of the biblical Hebrew Israelites.
My husband, he wasn't interested in it, so he wanted me to discontinue the classes. Second time I went, had a dress made, and I put this dress on. When he saw me with this dress, he looked at me, and he looked at me like he'd never seen me before. He looked at me real strange, and he said, "Take that off." I said, "But I can't." And he said, "But if you don't take that off," he said that I'll leave and you'll never see me again. All I know is that I heard truth. All I know is it was something that I had been looking for all my life. And when I heard it, I could not turn around.
Growing up being called Negroes, but we knew that Negroes had no land, had no identity like that. So now, all of a sudden, we have a land, language, and a culture. As a Hebrew, there is a land, language, and a culture, and that gave us another sense of pride, another sense. I mean, it was a joy. You understand what I'm saying? To know that you are really somebody that really had a place where if you want to leave today and go back to, that there was a place that you came from.
Hallelujah. 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 I get finished around 5 in the evening. That's the privilege. I can go home every day.
School's back in session now. I'm going over Elmar's suggested computer order. Hours, study hours, etc. Okay? And who had Nicki Minaj on the computer today?
Talk to Isaiah about that.
He said he didn't.
He was on the computer all day.
Isaiah did have Nicki Minaj on the computer. I walked in there and he was...
Now, Isaiah, you in there? Okay, that's forbidden. So there'll be no Nicki Minaj, okay?
Play some Elmore. Everyone in Israel is obligated to go. I didn't want to be honest. I wanted to push my music. You live in Israel, you're gonna go to the IDF, you're gonna defend Israel.
When I went into the military, basic training, everybody in my unit never heard of me. They wanted to know, where was this black girl from and why was she speaking English and Hebrew mixed? They couldn't understand it. So the first time they told me I had to go and fire a gun. Oh my God. You don't even have play guns around here. You know, we don't use any kind of weapons, you know. The guy told me, this weapon is nothing but a piece of metal. And what makes it dangerous is the person that holds it. So I said, exactly, it's a piece of metal. And I have to do what I have to do.
My name is Ahmadi El Ben Yehuda. I'm Elamar's father. Was born and raised in Washington, D.C., and I came to Israel in the year 1978 and have lived here, made this my home ever since. Our being part of the state of Israel carries certain obligations, rights and privileges, of course. Naturally, our first 20 years were very, very difficult here. But since the time of the reconciliation between the community and the state and our being recognized as permanent residents and even citizens at this particular point, they come with obligations. And one of the obligations is to defend this land. We firmly believe in the sovereignty of Israel and Israel being that sovereign voice and authority over this land. However, there would have to be one law for all people on this land, but Israel is mandated prophetically to be the holder of that right.
It was in 1966 that the great riots began throughout the United States, and the cities were burning, and the blood of my people was being shed and spilled in the streets. The moment of decision was when I became old enough to realize the predicament that I and my people were in. I petitioned the Creator from the depths of my soul that if there was a solution to the problems that were confronting my people, would He please show it to me?
I just want to do God's will. And He's allowed me to go up to the mountain. And I've looked over and I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we as a people will get to the promised land.
Dr. King, in his statement, he said, I have been to the mountaintop. He saw what was taking place, even though we never met. Ben-Ami never talked to him. But now he also said that I might not get there with you, but we as a people shall get to the promised land.
Under the smoke screen of the great riots, we would set off on the Exodus, the journey back to the promised land, to establish the long-awaited kingdom of God. Judaism is simply a religion. It is not a nationality. And those that adhere or believe in the tenets of Judaism, they are referred to as Jews. I'm a Hebrew. That is my nationality, a descendant of the biblical Israelites.
As far as being adherents to the religion of Judaism, that we are not. We prescribe that we have to follow the laws of the ancient Israelites, the Torah. It's those kind of principles that govern our lives.
According to the prophecies, we were supposed to return to the land in the same manner in which we had come out. We wandered all through Africa, until we got to the west coast of Africa, where we were taken away as slaves. And from there, we were taken to the four corners of the earth.
Ben-Ami had the plan and the idea and the concept because he was one of our major teachers.
Liberia was set up in 1822 for any American slave that wanted to return to Africa, and they were able to purchase land and have received citizenship as any other citizen there.
So when we arrived here, approximately 400 of us had left the U.S. On the initial sojourn, but 3 out of every 4, they could not survive the trek in the wilderness, and they returned to the U.S.
With my first wife, we were teenage lovers. We went to school together, and when we had children, we as a family we went to Liberia together. Everybody just not qualified to carry those burdens. She did great, sleeping in a tent, taking care of 3 or 4 beds. Matter of fact, we had a son born in Liberia. So, I mean, I sit and I feel for it, but she just went as far as she could go.
Our initial return to Liberia in 1967 was viewed by many as a back to Africa movement. And in some ways, for us, it was certainly that. It was back to Africa. It was back to our roots. But we always knew that Israel was northeastern Africa, and therefore the root, the ultimate objective and the ultimate destination of our return. But more so than just return to the land had to be a return back to the culture and a return back unto God, unto the ways of Yah.
I am the anointed spiritual leader. What that actually means is that in the days of our fathers, when Moses stood before our people, and the voice from heaven would come unto him, and our people would confirm that the Creator, in fact, he does speak to man, that the message would always come by way of a messenger, someone anointed.
When we left America in '67 and went to Liberia, our dreams was not to live in Liberia, but to prepare ourselves to get rid of all of the bad habits and the stigmas and the nigritudes and all of that. In 1968, Ben-Ami picked me to go to Israel. On the 1st of May, Ben-Ami and I got off the plane at Ben Gurion. This is it. This settlement is called the Victory Settlement. And when the first group, 39, arrived in Israel, this is where the absorption center placed them. And we were given the apartments here, there on the first floor, and over there on the second floor. All of these apartments here, we were given all of these. Anytime we turned the corner, whatever vehicle, if you was in a bus, if you were in a cab, whatever, when you turned that corner, coming into that parking lot right there, it was home. It was in the 80s that we received the permission to move from here down to the village where we are now.
There was an absorption center. They had built it for foreign workers to come, and they would have a place to live and everything. And initially it had everything in it, but that never worked out. So what ended up happening was the place was vandalized. People began to come in. They took all the doors, all the light fixtures, everything. The places were really, the only thing there was a structure. The mayor of Dimona at the time, Jacamir, he said that if we could do something with it, that we could have it. Children were so excited. Each child would go and choose a house for their family, you know. And what the brothers did, they all came together and they worked on each house. Everybody worked on each house, and a family would move in there. Then everybody would move and work on another house. So that's how we arrived at the village of peace.
Elohai bekabatachti alevosha al yalsu oi faili Elechaya wa nafshi asa.
After we came into the village of peace, that was just so much nicer. First of all, we were all together, and we was able to use certain structures for different facilities that were suitable for our way of life, you know. So it made it seem like home. My name is Takia about Israel. I'm one of the Crown Sisters in the community. I came into the kingdom in 1967, and I've been here ever since.
I'm Princess Kiahu. I was one of the first, as a matter of fact, I was the first to come to the land. And I am one of the elders that helped to oversee our children and to keep as a reminder of the ideas and the principles that we originally started from. We have always felt that music was our way of expressing our love and our belief in the Almighty God.
From the center of the world, from the land of lands, in Northeast Africa, there's a special path.
Being a member of the Soul Messengers, it has allowed us to express to the world a lot of the things that we feel and that we want them to know about. When we get on stage, we can put it in song. I don't know any better way than that to get our message out and across and how to serve and praise Yah, but by song and music.
מוזיקה שלנו זה חלק מחיינו. אנחנו משתמשים מוזיקה כמו שהרופא משתמש תרופות.
We have what you call songs of deliverance. This is what we produce here. We do our best to put out music that describes us as a people.
When I was young, we sang songs that connected to a condition, to life, to a land. We sang those songs. Today, youngsters sing songs that don't have no connection to nothing. I really learned to tap dance from my father. And when I was about 5 years old, he used to do a dance in the country, which I don't know, they didn't call it tap dance then, they called it the black bottom or the stomp or something. It was just a way that Africans used to use when they didn't have access to drums. They used to either beat on their body or on their chest or somewhere, or use their feet to make the same sound and beat out the rhythm. See, our objective is to learn how to talk and praise with our hand and our feet. That is the whole objective. Everything is to give praises back unto the Creator. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Now, when he began to feel this, hallelujah, he will begin to move. Well, I feel that it's most important that the younger generation, they learn to love the arts and crafts. You see, it's one thing to perform for pay, but it's another thing is when you do something because you love it. With the younger children, we teach them, it's what we call traditions passed on. When I wake up, the first thing I do is say my prayers. And then I have a small exercise procedure. Because physical fitness is part of our daily activity.
Holy concern is a workout plan, or sport activity, a jog. You need to work out, you need to be in shape. When you keep your holy concern, you're keeping up to the body that you have. Because when you get older, you don't want to be like, oh, I can't do that, my back hurt, oh, this, oh, that.
Game point.
Everybody is required to exercise at least 3 times a week. You can do more, but the requirement is 3 times a week.
It's always hard for some people to change. Like, for instance, if you're a smoker, it can be hard for a person that smokes cigarettes to stop smoking for a day. So everything has its challenges, and it was a challenge for us. But if you want to live, you're going to make the change. And so we just individually, collectively, we just made the change.
My name is Rofe Yehoshua Ben Yehuda, and I am currently the director of the Ministry of Divine Health. What we found in the book of Genesis, that there was a diet given to the family of beings that were created, and that was the diet that said, "Behold, I have given you every herb-bearing seed, which is upon all the face of the earth, and every tree which yields a seed and yields a fruit, to you I have given it for food." And that was a clear-cut explanation of our dietary parameters.
The solar cooking is environmentally sound. First, you're utilizing the sun to bring out the enzymes in the foods. Not only environmentally sound, economically sound too.
See, it's almost done.
The lifestyle that we were on before was degenerative because everything that we was eating, it was a diet made for the dead.
The actual soup, peas, now the vegetables is in it. It's just cooking up.
Fruits and vegetables are living. Meat and everything, that comes from something that's already dead. There's no life within a dead cow.
So that means when you eat it, that process continues where? Inside your body. And after a while, the body began to break down because of what you put into the body. As opposed to if you eat an apple and the apple is still living, you sit there and you eating living cells to replace dead cells, which just make common good sense.
The food tastes different because you're allowing the food to go through its natural processes. The sun is cooking it. What happens when you plant your foods? The sun enhances the food. So it's the same concept if you're solar cooking. You know, the panels and even the pots that we use, this cast iron. So iron is added to your foods. We use very little water in cooking food. Let it go through its natural processes, basically.
In Genesis 2:7, it said that the Lord Yah formed man from the dust of the ground. Now in Hebrew, the word that was translated into dust in English, afar, it means minerals. So then you understand that verse to mean that he created us from the minerals of the ground.
Trying to pull up these plants so that we can plant new plants is very difficult because we don't have the machines. So it's a lot of, the work is very hard, you know, but it's so beneficial when you eat it.
And so when we look at the soil, we find calcium, we find potassium, we find magnesium, we find copper, you know, iodine, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then we peer into our flesh, we find potassium, we find magnesium, we find copper, you know. And so that was validation for us that if that's where we were created and those same elements and those same minerals that are in the soil are in the plant life, then we need to consume the Genesis 1:29 diet.
3 days out of the week, we don't eat salt. 2 days of the week are live days, and we eat food that has not been cooked, just live food. Our sisters and the brothers have been very creative, and they have come up with some fantastic dishes. So we're not missing anything.
Dimona, have you put any of these out on the solar yet?
Oh, yeah, they're very delicious out there.
Wherever we go, we have to have some place where we're able to grow some food. It might not be a large plot, but it's got to be something organic.
Good thing about growing food, it really makes you realize there's no way in the world that people are supposed to be starving. When you just look at one of these bunches here of seeds, can't even count them. That's just one head of seeds, and it's thousands.
All of these are seeds.
When you get a pot and open it up, there's no way in the world that people are supposed to be starving.
If you are eating wrong and it's your back hurting, your feet hurting, and I said, but you need to change your diet. It has nothing to do with what you believe or your religious belief. It's that you need to change your diet.
It may be true that man can consume flesh, but you can put kerosene in an automobile for it, and it may run for a while, but it's not the ultimate fuel that will allow for the optimum, efficiency of that vehicle.
You have one idea that says we are about health and life. And then you have another idea that allows the manufacturing of cigarettes that kills over 400,000 Americans every year. We were taught that the government's primary focus is the protection of the health and welfare of its people. So you would allow an industry, just one industry, to create and market a product that will kill 400,000 people of your people annually with your knowledge, and that is okay?
Everything we do is geared toward life, the pursuit of life, nurturing, forgiving life, maintaining life, sustaining life.
Aramin kayahwa kidelitani velose machta oi vaili. Aramin kayahwa
Wow, who would believe the report? Oh, here's a big one. I love the land and the land loves me. Okay, go on. In the Western world, we were taught from the youth, you have to have your own man, and that's just the way it was. I met this brother, and I began to see him, and everywhere I would go, he would appear there. So one day I asked him, "Are you married?" And he says, "I'm married to God." I said, "You know what I mean. Do you have a wife?" And he said, "I'm separated." I didn't know he had a wife, and the separation was because she was in Liberia. It was a learning process. There was jealousy. Of course there was jealousy. There was misunderstandings. Of course there was misunderstandings. Remember that bag that you gave Nasik? That we would always put his food in?
Yeah.
That was so nice, and we don't know where it is. We got to get another one.
I have some.
You got something?
First of all, when I got married, it was idealistic, not really founded on strong principles. I was young, 21, really my frontal lobe still being developed. And so there were a lot of things that I didn't perceive. In the kingdom of Yah, you don't just get married because I love him and I want to get married. It's a process of learning, going to classes. Do you really gel? What are the differences? To consider the things that we think about after the fact, so that you can have an opportunity to have a long-lasting and eternal relationship with someone that you love and to grow in that relationship.
Oh, they're sweet. Where did it come from? Hey.
Anyone that does any research on the community will often run across the idea that we're vegan polygamists. We understand that the vast majority of social systems on the earth are polygynous. Polygynous simply meaning that there are more than one wife, more than one woman involved in the marriage or family relationship.
In this day and time, not knowing who your man is with from one night to the next can kill you, literally so. So we know from night to night who our husband is keeping company with, who he's spending time with. And we know the lifestyle that we each maintain, the beliefs that we share, the culture that we all embrace. We embrace that together. So there's security, there's safety, there's holistic healthiness.
We find it quite hypocritical, to say the least, that many people will condemn us for being responsible for the disparity in numbers. There are many, many more women than men in the African American society. And of course, we being a microcosm coming out of that reality. What do we do if we want to build strong families wherein we don't want divorce, we don't want promiscuity, we don't want whoredom? What do? We simply looked at biblical culture and African culture, which in our view is all one and the same. We're in Africa. The ancient Hebrews were an African culture, and we found that it was a common practice and would be a means of restoring the kind of balance and the kind of sanity to family relationships.
What's happening with the pants, girl?
For what? I'll tell you too long.
Pull them up. Pull them up. No. Yeah, pull the top up. Pull the top. Pull them up. Pull them up. All the way up.
Ain't about that. It's the bottom.
No.
The bottom is, I done folded them and had to put it up.
The seawall pants can come up.
It wasn't based on a lust of flesh because the majority of the men have more than one wife anyway. But they just don't own up to them, take care of them. We just make a legal practice that if you have two women that you want to take care of your children, marry them.
Everybody is equal in the eyes of the Father. And women can aspire to anything that they want to be, except to be a man.
The Bible calls her a helpmate. If you call your wife a helpmate, you might get beat up. Sometimes you want to be the head of the house as opposed to being the helpmate and called the helpmate. the woman that takes care of me, irons my clothes, fix my food. So what am I going to do? Bite the hand that feeds me? Nothing taken away from her. She can be as powerful as she want to be, but she's still a helpmate to man.
Nothing can happen without the permission of the first wife or the second wife. If you want to have another wife and bring her in the family, you have to negotiate. Honey, today I was walking and I seen this wonderful sister that I think she's nice. She would be like, okay, honey, tell me more about her, understanding. If she see her, she would try to connect with her. If she connects with her, then okay, maybe come to the house sometimes, come by dinner and get to know the kids. Someone that want to get in a family, they don't get to know the father, only the father. You have to pursue the whole family. If it doesn't work out and you really like that person, you're not going to just marry her because you're going to tear down the family. And you're not going to do that because family is everything.
When I get married and my husband comes to me and he tells me that he wants to have another wife, good. I don't want to have that many children. So when my husband do decide to have another wife, you can come into my family. I don't have no problem with that.
That too.
I've had some health challenges, and who took care of me? I mean, literally took care of me. They helped me walk again. They helped me talk again. They fed me. They washed my clothes. They just walked me through the whole thing. And so I wouldn't trade these. You know? I wouldn't trade these.
You all right?
Yeah, how you doing?
I'm doing great. You see, I picked me some okra.
For a sister to open up her arms to receive another sister in her home, and another sister, and another sister. This takes unselfishness. It takes another and a higher level of consciousness, of wanting peace. The whole world talks about peace. We talk about love. But does everybody really know what true love is?
And we're always laughing and we have so much fun. And we share so much together. These are really my best friends.
Hallelujah, let us warmly receive the holy wedding entourage. Hallelujah! Hallelujah! Hallelujah!
There's nothing called a small private wedding. You don't have that. You can't give invitations because you know everybody. This is your family.
The holy wedding entourage of Akuriel and a coat, Abaya. Kulam nanode hallelujah. 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 Yo chai. Yo chai. Yo chai.
As we walk this glorious path, hand in hand, together as one, to fulfill the will of Yahweh. We humbly pray this prayer for all the family of the kingdom of Yah, the one family that is the one standard of the commandments, statutes, and ordinances of Yah. Selah. Strong, mighty warrior, son of Yah, an eternal, dedicated brother in the Jerusalem Brotherhood.
Ani,
Me'asher,
et, andarim,
Aelu.
Mila. Atem tihiyu, ki ish ve'isha. Hallelujah.
You got a look of confidence on your face, like you done this before in another life, huh?
The objective of the circumcision on the 8th day is simply following the instructions given to us by Yah Yisrael, to the Holy One of Israel, that it was part of the eternal covenant between man and him to show a life of dedication unto him. And the circumcision was that physical covenant.
Shalom, Kha. Yeah, you about to get elevated now.
The process is that it is performed by a member of the prophetic priesthood. And on the 8th day, they come in and they place the Beit Chaim, the house of life, is sanctified. And the usual members, of course, are the immediate family. And then on occasion, it's other members of the community, because we are a family.
Thou shalt keep my covenant, therefore, thou and thy seed after thee in their generation. This is my covenant, which ye shall keep between me and you and thy seed after thee.
During, and afterwards, there's prayer involved. There are only herbs used, of course, during the process of circumcision. And it's a very immaculate procedure that is accomplished.
Every male child among you shall be circumcised, and ye shall circumcise the flesh of your foreskin, and it shall be a sign of the covenant between me and you.
This will be over in a minute, man. This could be over in a minute. Believe me. Yochai.
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 Yochai. That is a little warrior there.
All yours.
Why you doing?
Yeah, you shy. Yeah, you shy.
Like school. That's the honest to God truth. I didn't like school. It was two different educations that you were getting. You had the normal school system, and you had our kind of education. And I think we were more excited about our education and our history.
Stein im Zebiak im Waz Kafu, Nakon, Stein Kafu, wa Minus.
It was difficult for us to receive schooling, so we had to make do with what we had. Since we weren't allowed at first to enroll our children in school, we simply sat down and said, but our kids must be educated, and we had teachers that were qualified to teach them, so we began to teach them ourselves.
In 1993, we received the Beit Sefer Akva, the school where our children attend now. Once they received Beit Sefer Akva, a third of the teachers was from the community, a third of the teachers was from the Israeli populace, and a third of the teachers was from the Moatza, was from Russians.
Most of the time, you go to school for the breaks. Out there with your friends, playing ball.
I remember we'll be in history class, history or geography, and you go head to head with the teacher. They'll tell you Israel was part of Asia and stuff, all that kind of stuff. So you pretty much waited for your history classes with your teachers from the community.
I had the same people that was in my class when we was in kindergarten, same people I got out of school with.
All of my family was in school. You never felt like you was alone, or, you can see sometime, on movies or even reality shows, children who have hard time in school, people picking on them and stuff like that because they don't have nobody, but you never had that.
It was quite challenging for them in the beginning, but now they're doing so much better. The matriculation exams, they've all come in, and our school has the highest scores with all the schools here in Dimona. Not only that, we have the highest scores in any school here in the Negev.
Mom ring. Mom ring. Mom ring. That's the car. Yes, the kiva. More be like that po. The fear of my rocket shalakim. Yes, the more ring. Masculine po. What's it masculine?
Our children are already in the colleges. They're in the universities. They're pursuing higher education at this moment.
Hit the studio sometimes, like, don't even change my army uniform. Just go straight to the studio and get to work until 9 in the evening, sometimes even later. We have to make some room for my poster in a minute, you know.
Elamar is a very, very focused individual. He has his own ideas about, the things he wants to do and how he wants to represent the kingdom, and naturally music is one of them. And he's somehow managed to parlay his musical career and fold it into and back out of the IDF, and he's done a magnificent job of that. And of course, this gives Elamar and it gives all of our children a greater exposure that they would not normally have to the larger Israeli society.
In love with you, girl. All right. I'm recording it in Hebrew. The Holy Tongue. When we do prayers and things of that nature. If you have the ability to speak Hebrew, then you best do it in Hebrew. Our way of praying at home, we do prayer before we close out the Shabbat, before we open the Shabbat. And my portion of closing the Shabbat is basically that prayer.
We jokingly say sometimes that if all Africans in America were to come to Israel, that we'd have to find somewhere else to go. And that's simply because they would bring with them that lifestyle that is certainly a death style, a culture that allows the denigration of women, that has cultivated violence, etc. When you talk about race, we're not racially exclusive, we're very inclusive. In fact, race for us is a false construct. It's a social construct, but it is not a biological construct. On the surface, we're all pretty much the same. The criteria would be that they would have to live according to the guidelines that have been established to make this what it is. No racism, no gangs or gang warfare, no guns, no ghetto or ghetto mentality, no child abuse, no drugs or drug dealers. No prostitution, no women beating, no homelessness, no hunger, no alarm systems, no locked doors, no burglaries, no gambling, no smoking, no profane music, no alcoholism, no chemicals in the foods, no eating of dairy products, no synthetic clothing, no jails or prisons, no lying politicians, no democracy, no freedom of religion. No looking at the U.S. as a land of opportunity. You have to always remain focused on what it is that we came here to do and what it is that we must remain locked in on in order to give humanity a chance. It's all about lifestyle. It's all about who adheres to these principles, which we know give us life. And we're saying this is the formula.
do have children. I have 12 children, ages 7 through 47.
Show our appreciation and thanks to Yah Israel for this great victory, because surely we know that his hand was in this.
I feel that we have been able to maintain the vision and keep the youth focused on the vision, at least a majority of them. But truthfully, we have lost some of our youth to the external influences.
Our greatest challenge in recent years and for the future is to remain aligned with our purpose. And our purpose, again, is to be a light unto the nations. That was the prophetic role of the children of Israel, to be that light, to be that source of intellect and inspiration to other nations that are looking for a way out of the gloom and darkness.
Every society has its generational changes. And within the kingdom, I'd say prophetically, some of those children will be lost.
How do I pass on to my children how I felt growing up? What do I want them to feel now?
You have a lot of temptations. Everything that's thrown in your face to seem so beautiful and shiny and perfect in that world is something that you automatically attached yourself to. You like it, so you're trying to see where could you get more and how good does it get.
Because growing in community is something you only know. You don't know nothing else.
It's a lot of things that people can teach you. It's a lot of things that your parents can teach you. And once you get of age, it's your choice.
We chose this. We were there. We chose this. The majority of our children have been born here. So it's almost like an automatic thing.
So you have those that want to go and see. So they go and they see.
Children can be daring, but they find out through their life experiences, as we did, the right way.
And the reality is that over the years, sure, we've had people to leave. We've had people to get disillusioned. But at the same time, we're gaining new adherents globally who are at the point of realizing that, hey, we need a new direction for our people.
I feel that our motivation, is our strong point. We're motivated by the love factor. Our love for our people, our love for the planet, our love for the fowl of the heaven, our fish of the sea, our love for the ozone, the air, the rivers, the lakes. And I feel that that is our great motivation that causes us to continue on and to keep them focused on the reality of what they must do in order to restore a paradise on this earth.
Being in the Village of Peace doesn't mean that there's a complete absence of conflict, but there's an ability to deal with it. And peace for us is built on the idea of integrity, built on the idea of being whole and one and truthful with one another. And when you have those elements intact, you get to peace.
When I go and I see the family members and go outside and see my sisters and my brothers, I mean, what more could you ask for?
I just love the idea that he allowed us to come back and walk once again in the Holy Land.
Do I consider myself being African American? I do not. African Hebrew? Absolutely.
Dimona.